Welcome to another edition of Frankly Speaking Sports. I'm your host, Larry Frank, and I'm so happy to be with all of you today. What a great night. Look at this beautiful banner behind me. I am so proud, so very proud to be part of the Crue Life family, C4L Productions. That's where we're coming live to you tonight from C4L and Crue Life. Hope you love our beautiful banner, and we're ready to go with just an exceptional show for you tonight. For those of you that are new to Frankly Speaking Sports, I first want to thank everybody from Crue Life. Everybody that's involved, Brian, Rick, Rob, and I know there's so many of you, Coach Bell, for allowing me this great opportunity to be on Wednesday nights going forward. And we are not going to disappoint you tonight. I am so fired up to be on this show. And, why wouldn't I be? I have the greatest fans in the world called Tampa Bay Buccaneer fans. And we have one of the greatest opening guests that we can have on our rookie night here on Crue Life. And that'll be Ricky Reynolds, the former cornerback for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the New England Patriots, will be joining us live in about 15 minutes. So please, that is definitely an interview you do not want to miss. I also want to remind you that you can interact with us. Please leave messages. Let me know you're here. Let me know you're involved. Ask a question. I'll be, honored and happy to answer all of the questions you all may have in relation to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So please do that. We also have a call-in line. The only thing I ask is please, during the interview, do not call in because obviously the line will be tied up. The number here is 479-553-7008. It is a Frankly Speaking Sports Crue Life hotline. We have one line. We're working up to getting more lines for you in the future. But you go ahead, give us a call. We'll answer your question or just leave a message right here under the comment section. I see a lot of you are just joining us right now. Want to remind you, in about 12 minutes, we'll have former Tampa Bay Buccaneer and New England Patriot Ricky Reynolds will be joining us live. But I want to get into some news from right away. I want to clear everybody's head. We got a lot of Tampa Bay Buccaneer information to get to this evening. And it starts out with a lot of emails and text messages I'm getting from Tampa Bay Buccaneer fans. What's going on, Larry? What's going on? COVID-19 hit Tampa Bay. Oh, my goodness. And, it's a terrible thing. And I'm not an expert, and I'm not going to talk all day about COVID-19 and the effect it may have on the NFL, but I will tell you a couple of assistant coaches did get it. They are quarantined, but understand there are a lot of people out there, Tampa Bay Buccaneer fans, that have COVID-19 and don't even know it. And as these players go ahead and happens, you're going to find out that a lot more players you're going to find out have this terrible illness because they're being tested now. Hey, Linda, want to welcome you very much to the show. And somebody also asked me about what happens with the fans now. Tampa is a very hot market. I had heard today the NFL did come out, and they will be talking about this tomorrow. For all you Tampa Bay Buccaneer fans, make sure you listen to this very carefully. It will be up to the local authorities to decide how many fans can enter the stadium. So if you're in Tampa Bay Buccaneer fan, it's going to be up to Ron DeSantis, the governor of Tampa, to make that decision what capacity he will allow the stadium to be filled with. Now, some stadiums, you may be in New England, you may be in California, they may allow 50 or 75% of their stadium to be filled to capacity, where other stadiums, maybe in Tampa or Texas, where the spots are hotter, with this COVID-19, it may be less, maybe 25%. But the one thing I will tell you for the Tampa Bay fans listening, and we don't want anyone to get this COVID-19. But the fact that it is so high now could mean when the season starts that the Tampa Bay area is going towards a downward curve. If that's the case, more fans would be allowed into Raymond James Stadium. I am not an expert. I'm not going to, sit here and tell you what all these what ifs. But a lot of these players, the chances of them getting COVID-19 during the season is going to be a lot less because of the frequent testing that everybody is going to go through. So we'll let the experts handle that, but that's my opinion as far as that goes. A little bit after, we're going to be talking about Tom Brady. We're going to be talking to Ricky Reynolds. We're going to have some information on the kicking game. We got so much good stuff to go over. I want to remind you all, this is an interactive show. Go ahead, let me know you're here. Ask me some questions. We'll answer them. You can go ahead and call in. Our phone line in a couple minutes is going to be tied up, obviously, with the great Ricky Reynolds. And then after that, we will answer all your calls. And also, my good buddy Rob Thompson says that he's going to pick 5 people. Listen to this. This man's incredible. He's going to give you all this great stuff that Crue Life gives out. A lot of different goodies, a lot of patches and stuff for the fans that participate the most. So I'll tell you what, if you love this, I love this. I'll tell you what, I'm fired up to be here tonight. But, one of the things that I did want to let people know, we got about 8 minutes before Ricky Reynolds joins us, and I talked about this before. The big thing is going to be the relationship between Tom Brady and Byron Leftwich. And there's a couple things you have to realize here. Obviously, everybody that's a Buccaneer fan knows that Tom Brady has been in the same system the last 20 years. It got to a point in New England where Tom Brady could probably call the next play before Josh McDaniels radioed it in. And in order for Tom and Byron to be able to have that type of relationship, they're going to need to build that same type of chemistry that Josh and Tom had in New England. Now, how do you do that, you ask? He's only been here a couple months, and he hasn't even met Byron Leftwich yet because he accidentally walked into somebody else's house. But at the end of the day, the point is, Tom and Byron are going to have to sit down. They're going to have to look at plays together, and Tom, almost play like a little quiz game. What would you call on this play? What would you call on that play? What would you call on that play? And see how similar they are with their play calling. Now, a couple other things to remember is your quarterback is older than your offensive coordinator, which, some people say, well, does that really matter? Well, it's not the age that matters. It's the experience that matters. Tom was playing when Byron was playing, and Tom has had a lot more success at calling plays, obviously, during his 20-year career than Byron Leftwich. So I think that, if egos can step aside here, which I know they will, and I know Byron very well, and I know what Tom has done in the past, I think you're going to have a very, very good chemistry here. There is no doubt in my mind, no way, shape, or form, that Byron Leftwich is the play caller this year for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Now remember something, Bruce Arians always has the final say, but he didn't bring in an offensive coordinator so he can sit his butt on the line and do nothing. He is going to call the plays. We're going to have to accept that. And I thought overall, that Byron did a decent job last year. Just the execution of the plays did not necessarily work out. There's a lot more involved in a play than you just call the play, run it, and it works. I mean, everything, all cylinders have to be clicking together. And if you want to talk about having the right leader this year, and no disrespect towards Jameis Winston, I wish him well, not against us, but Tom Brady, is a true leader. Look at this already. Tom Brady has been working out with his offense already. Okay? Then the other day, the NFL comes out and says, okay, we suggest, and I emphasize that word suggest. I'm sorry if you guys, I'm finding out having Wi-Fi issues. My Wi-Fi, for some reason, it looks fine over here, so I do apologize if there is a Wi-Fi issue. I'll check it real quickly here to make sure that our Wi-Fi... If somebody could respond and let me know if they can hear me now. My Wi-Fi is showing full strength ahead, so I do apologize about that. If you somebody can go ahead and give a quick comment and let me know if their Wi-Fi is currently working, or if the Wi-Fi, I would surely appreciate that. We're minutes away from having the great Ricky Reynolds join us live here on Crue Life and Frankly Speaking Sports. So if I can get somebody to just message me real quickly, let me know if they can go ahead and hear us here, as I will leave a message to see. Let me do that real quickly. All right. So I went ahead and left the message. Also, you know, the other thing that I was talking about is Tom Brady is a leader. Okay, thank you, Linda, for letting me know. I got a message that some people aren't hearing me. Then I'm getting messages over here that everybody else is hearing me. So I'm not sure what's going on. So I do apologize for those people that are having trouble with me connecting to them. So I do apologize about that. The other thing with Tom Brady was the other day the NFL came out, we were talking about, and suggested that teams don't participate with other players on their team to go ahead and practice, like the Bucs have been doing, because they can contradict, get the virus, whatever the right word is. But Tom Brady only heard one word, and this is a leader for you folks. He heard the word suggest. In his eyes, they only suggested. They didn't tell him that he couldn't have practice. So what does he do? He gets the players together the next day and he practices at Berkeley Prep, and he keeps practicing and practicing and practicing. You know, I cannot believe the effort. Here's a 42-year-old guy. He wants to win this championship bad. And if you can't see this in Tom Brady just by going ahead and listening to him and watching what his move, that is true leadership. And, you know, once again, I'm not taking away from anything Jameis did last year, but he is showing his true leadership by getting these guys together that some of the coaches haven't even had the opportunity yet to meet, and he's pulling them all together, running plays, learning the playbook, and going over different stuff with different individuals on his team, as well as, Robert Gronkowski. So you got to give this guy, I'm telling you what, you are in for an unbelievable year, Tampa Bay fans. Tom Brady, we're going to talk a lot about him after the interview we do in a minute with Ricky Reynolds, and we're going to take your messages, we're going to take your phone calls. Hopefully you can all hear right now. If for those of you that are online, I want to remind you, after the phone call, please leave comments. Please call in. I left the phone number up there for you to call in, but please wait until after the Ricky Reynolds interview, and we will talk a lot more about Tampa Bay Buccaneers and what the outlook is for the upcoming year. Let's go ahead and get Ricky on the phone here. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It is my great thrill, honor, and pleasure to welcome on the Frankly Speaking Crue Life Sports Hotline former Tampa Bay Buccaneer, New England Patriot cornerback Ricky Reynolds. Ricky, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing very well. How are you doing, Frank?
I'm doing awesome, buddy. It's great. I want to first of all thank you so very much for taking time out of your busy schedule to join us on Frankly Speaking Sports tonight.
Well, I'm glad to be here. I'm glad to be able to come on and share all of my experience with you guys.
Well, Ricky, you know what? I want to start out back all the way back when you were first drafted in the second round by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The Buccaneers obviously were coming off a 2-14 record. Why don't you? I know it was a long time ago, but nobody ever forgets that moment when they were drafted by an NFL team. What was that experience like for you?
Well, it was incredible. It was obviously a different time and different era. They weren't inviting guys, to the NFL draft back then when I was coming out. But I was up at Washington State University and just in my dorm room with some friends and just waiting. I wasn't sure exactly when I was going to be called, but just excited, looking forward to the opportunity, and finally got a call from Ray Perkins and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
And Rick, unfortunately, your time in Tampa Bay, unfortunately, the Buccaneers didn't necessarily have, the best record, didn't make the playoffs. But tell the fans about some of your best memories when you were a Tampa Bay Buccaneer.
Well, back then we didn't have free agency, so usually you had a nucleus of guys that stayed around, for many years. And so during those times, you really became a family, and you really became close with your fellow teammates, their wives and their children and things of that nature. So that was something I really remembered greatly during those times, those close relationships that I was able to spend with many different players, and just have a lot of different experiences with those guys, in the locker rooms, off the field, and that sort of thing. It was amazing, and just getting a chance to play in the National Football League was a dream come true. Playing against some of the great players, across the league that you watched growing up, and things of that nature, and it was a pure joy just to have that opportunity and to play here in Tampa. I mean, playing this sunshiny state on grass turf, because I didn't want to play on any more AstroTurf because that stuff would tear you up. But it was a blast just to have that opportunity to play here in Tampa.
Well, and then, and you had a really good career with the Buccaneers. I know during your time with the Bucs alone, you had 17 interceptions. I know you ended up with 23 when, by the time you finished your career with New England. Talk to the fans about that transition from going, you're drafted by the Buccaneers, you end up playing, 6 or 7 years with the Buccaneers, and then you move on to New England. What was that like?
Well, I played here for 7 years, and it was tough, going year in and year out and losing. There was many different players that came through, and the roster continuously rotated because they were just trying to win. They were trying to get some guys on board, so it was really tough to play in that atmosphere. And you just had to bear down and plug away and focus on your game and try to improve each and every week. And it was something that was very hard to do. And I had like you said, I had a pretty solid career here in Tampa. And unfortunately, free agency started up back in '93, and I became a free agent in '94. And Ray Perkins, who was my first head coach here in Tampa, happened to be the offense coordinator over there in New England with Bill Parcells, called me up and said, "Hey, Ricky, how would you like to come play in New England?" I said, "Yeah, Ray, you got some money?" And so they told me that they figured that Tampa was going to do something like that because I had the transition tag on me, and Sam Weiss was the head coach, and so what they did was end up taking the transition tag off later on, sometime I believe in the summer, and thought nobody else would have any money, but New England had some money and were able to come in and swoop me up and gave me the opportunity to go to New England. My first year there, I went to the playoffs.
Right.
So it was quite an experience playing in New England, playing for Bill Parcells and those guys, and having a chance to play in a winning program. And I got a chance to play on Monday Night Football. And my last final year, I played in Super Bowl 31 with the Patriots.
Now, that's right. And let me ask you this. When you talk about a winning coach in professional football, obviously Bill Parcells is definitely one of the best. And, now New England has Bill Belichick, who is also one of the best. What was it like to play for Parcells?
It wasn't easy. It wasn't easy. He was very demanding, and he knew what he was doing, though. I mean, it was amazing to be under a coach like that. We'll be sitting in there, and he will have team meetings, and he'll talk about the season at hand, what's going to happen, what the opponents are going to do, and how the season's going to go. And during the course of the season, he say, these guys are playing good, but we got to do X, Y, Z, and these guys, they're front runners, they're going to fall off, and everything he would say would happen. And I mean, he knew the game so well that he would put us in a position to be victorious, and all we had to do was follow along, do what he asked of us, and execute, and we win football games. And he was a great coach. He was, like I said, very demanding. He was old school. He didn't like to take off the pads because we would hit all the time back there in the day, but that was okay because it helped us to win. And Parcells was, like I said, he was a tough coach to play for, but we won the football game.
And let me ask you this, because we're talking to Ricky Reynolds, former Tampa Bay Buccaneer and New England Patriot. You talked about the hitting back then, and you bring up a great point. And, back in those days, I mean, you guys didn't just hit. You hit hard. I mean, and, it seems like nowadays, and of course you always want the safety of the players, but does it seem to you like sometimes the holding up on the type of hits that you used to do as a defenseman in the National Football League, that now the way they're doing it actually could get people even hurt more because of them pulling up, pulling muscles, pulling hamstrings, and so on?
Oh, yeah, it definitely can injure a player if he's, coming on to a receiver and you hit a guy that's, going up to make a play, and all you're trying to do as a defensive back is go make the play. I hit this guy, I knocked the ball out, it's incomplete. But you can't hit him because, it'll be a penalty,
Right.
because the receiver can't protect himself. So you either have to wait or you have to, like you said, ease up and hit them not as hard, things like that. So there's a lot more thinking that goes into it, and it can totally change your mindset, change the course of the game for those individuals that are out there. And I think that would be very tough for me to play during those times because, once that ball was thrown, I was going 100 miles an hour to go, make a play on that football, whether it's going through the receiver, whether it's, knocking down the pass or intercepting the ball, whatever it was, I was going to go make a play. And it would be tough to have to, react and then think about, how do I, knock this ball down? How do I, tackle this receiver without getting a penalty?
Now, Ricky, I don't know if you're still doing it, but I know after your career, and I know for the last couple of years, you are doing some pregame, postgame shows. Are you still doing those?
Yes, I've been doing those for quite a while with Fox 13 and Scott
Right.
Smith and Ira Kaufman last year. We usually do contracts year to year. So, I mean, I don't know what's going to happen during the course of this next coming season, with the epidemic
Right.
and everything. But, I think I would be back on again this year if everything plays as planned.
And, Ricky, I want you to explain to our listeners because, obviously when you were playing the game, you watched film over and over and over again. But, doing what you do now as, doing pregame coverage and postgame coverage, the watching of film hasn't stopped, has it?
Oh no. You definitely have to watch film. You have to watch film of the Patriots. You have to watch film of their opponents. You have to know what happened, the game before, what's going to be happening in the future, kind of know what's going on through the course of the league, just in case you're prepared for any of those types of questions. So the film watching does not stop. I have to continue to study so that I can make the right analysis and critiques of these players while I'm on the telecast, because I want to be true to the game and make sure I'm delivering the right message to the fans that are out there watching.
Yeah, absolutely. Now let me ask you this: we got obviously a very active off season for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Two guys they got from New England. They got Tom Brady, obviously, and Rob Gronkowski. If either of those guys came up to you and said, "Hey, Rick, I know you played in both cities. You played in New England. You played in, Tampa Bay. What kind of advice could you tell me? And what's the major difference, as a player with the fan base and so on, that I have to learn to adjust to here?"
I would say the biggest thing to adjust to here is the heat. The heat can really wear you down here in Tampa, Florida. I would say that, they have to be very careful what they're doing as far as preparing during the week, drinking lots of water, conserving their energy, not, doing a lot of hanging out, before games and stuff like that. They try to conserve your energy as much as possible, because it can really drain you during the course of the week up until game time. And there's been instances where, when I played in Tampa, that you go into a game and your body's beat up, especially when I played for Coach Ray Perkins, because our practices were brutal, And so sometimes you're kind of worn out when you're going into a game, and so you have to take care of your body and be able to hydrate and be prepared for Sundays.
Now we are talking to Ricky Reynolds, former Tampa Bay Buccaneer, New England Patriot. Now, Ricky, obviously the fans are excited. There's nothing, with good reason they're excited for this season, and hopefully everything goes on as normal, which I think it will. But, if you had to tell the fans, hold on a minute, Tampa Bay, there's still a couple of holes we need to fill in order to get to the back to the promised land. What holes do you think this 2020 team right now, as of today, need to fill?
I would say the biggest thing offensively is the running game. And that goes with the offensive line, opening up holes, along with the running backs, hitting holes, getting the extra yardage, and making this ground game to where it needs to be, so that there's not as much pressure on Tom Brady in the passing game. You don't want them to sit and have to throw the football 50 times a game. You want to have a running game so that it keeps the opponent's defense off balance. Right. And that's one part of the game that this team really, really needs to improve on, is the running game. And, of course, defensively, these guys were young. They really came on strong, towards the last quarter of the season. And the run defense was outstanding all year long. But we got to continue to try to improve back there in the secondary and with the pass defense.
Yeah, and you mentioned, and that's one of the points I was just about to bring up, you played on the defensive side of the ball. You played cornerbacks, and nothing against our cornerbacks. I thought, just like you said, towards the second half, or let's say the last quarter of the season, they really started to come on. But you got to remember, this defense was still one of the worst defenses against the pass, and they were obviously, like you said, the best versus the rush. I mean, what are these guys? Do they have the right guys do you think, to, play good pass defense? Or do you think maybe they need to go after another veteran somewhere in that secondary?
If there was another veteran to be had, I would say probably in the safety position. You need somebody of leadership that can, get the guys lined up, get them, put in the right position so these guys can go out and execute. If you were to try to get another experienced player on the defensive side, I would say safety position. And but you got to understand, these guys are young players. You got a brand new defense in. And it took them a while to really learn how to play within this defense. You have some guys, they're playing a lot of different combination type coverages. They're playing, zone on this side, man on this side. They're doubling guys and doing a lot of things where you have to communicate. You have to know your leverages. Am I playing inside technique, outside technique? And a lot of these guys didn't do this in college. So they're learning on the run, and trying to adjust. And so they finally, a light bulb clicks sometime in the second part of the season, and these guys really started to gel together, started playing good with one another, and so I think they're starting to understand it. What's the bad part is they didn't have really an off season this year to really, no OTAs and things of that nature to really expound on that, what they've had done on the second part of the season to improve, as far as physically. What I understand, though, is I think Tom Brady's starting to get some of those defensive backs out there while these guys are out throwing around a little bit, which would be a good thing. But it's going to take some time, just make sure that these guys gel together again so that they can get that continuity back together to go out and play on that same level that they finished on.
Yeah, and I know you talked about the running game, Ricky, and I got a good question for you, I think. And, you playing the game would understand this. I think a good high percent of the time, especially on offense last year, that it seemed like Byron Leftwich and Bruce Arians, they used a 3 tight end set. Well, do you think it might be better off for them to go maybe to a 2 tight end set and maybe somehow pick up like a blocking running back, someone that could be that extra protection for Tom Brady? Because, they haven't had a fullback, I think, since Mike Allstott on this team, at least a position fullback. Do you think they need that one guy extra in the backfield to maybe protect for Tom?
No, not necessarily. Not. You don't have to have a fullback per se. You just have to have a running back that's a good pass protector.
Right.
It could be just a regular runner that can, run football, catch the football, and all that sort of thing. He just has to be a guy that can step up and be able to help pass block, pass protect. And there's some good backs out there. And hopefully one of these guys can step up and be that guy. But, you got to have a running back there that can help to protect, Tom Brady in these instances. But Tom is a veteran, he's playing forever. He's not going to sit back there and get hit like, some of the other young quarterbacks that we've had in the past. So he's gonna sit back there. He's gonna get rid of the football. He's not gonna hold on to it too late. He's gonna throw it. He's not gonna take a lot of punishment.
And, you talk about Tom Brady. You can see his leadership already. And I don't want to take anything away from, Jameis Winston from last year or the years past. But here's a guy, like you said, he has this team already out there practicing. Then a couple days ago, the NFL comes out and says, we suggest that teams don't get out there and practice with other, with their other players because of the spread of coronavirus. But Tom Brady being the leader he is, only heard one word in that sentence, and that was suggest. They didn't tell him he can't. So what does he do the next day? He goes out with the players, and they're practicing again.
Yeah, the NFL is kind of covering their own, butts there by, letting them know that, hey, we're not telling you guys to be out there. This is you on your own, And so these guys are going to go out, and Tom Brady wants to be successful. He wants to show Bill Belichick and the crew over in New England that I can win without you. No matter where I go, give me some weapons, and we're going to win some football games. And so he wants to go out there. He wants to be prepared, and he wants to win. He's a winner, and this is what he knows how to do, and that's to go out there and win. And he doesn't know the offense, so he's having to go out there and prepare and do whatever it takes to make sure that he is ready to go on the first day of training camp.
Now, let me ask you this. We're talking to Ricky Reynolds, former Tampa Bay Buccaneer and New England Patriot. You know, obviously, Tom Brady's coming over to a new system. He is obviously going to be with a pretty much a very young offensive coordinator in Byron Leftwich. I think Byron's 40. He's 42, Brady. Not that age matters, but, you know, it's going to be important for these two right off the bat to really have a good chemistry. How do you think, you know, they're both professionals. How do you think that relationship will work out?
I think it'll work out fine. You know, Leftwich was a former quarterback, so he understands. You know, he's has the same mindset, and now it comes down to just being able to communicate, being able to sit down and go over things and talk. And, you know, it's really starting to happen right now because Leftwich is having a chance, and I don't know how much they're supposed to communicate, but he needs to get to learn and know who Tom Brady is, what he likes, what he doesn't like, how he likes to be coached, and things of that nature, so that, you know, when they're out there in the heat of battle and things aren't going right and, you know, they start getting ruffling the feathers a little bit, which, you know, feathers get ruffled either way, you know, by player to coach or coach to player, you know. And so they got to get to know each other so that they can work through the kinks and, you know, get better through the course of the season. And when things aren't going well, that they're able to overcome those tough situations and go from there and get better. You know what I'm saying? So these guys have to work well together and have to learn and know one another and how each other thinks and how they feel and get a grasp of what each other are thinking. So they're going to have to spend a lot of time with one another.
Now, a couple more questions before we let you run, Rick. Is there any doubt in your mind who's going to be calling the plays this year? Is it, you know, one of the fans ask him if it's going to be Byron Leftwich or Bruce Arians. I already think it's going to, no doubt in my mind, that it's going to be Byron Leftwich. What are your thoughts?
I believe it'll be Byron Leftwich. I think that Arians is totally trusting in Leftwich, and you know, he has a year of experience. I totally believe it's going to be Byron Leftwich this year.
All right, and before we let you run, we know it's early. We know, you know, camp hasn't even opened yet. But, you know, if you had a crystal ball, and I said guesstimate how this team fares in 2020, just your initial thoughts, what are your thoughts?
Well, I think they'll have a good solid season. They don't have an easy schedule now. You know, they have some tough games there, and it's going to take a little time for these guys to gel because they haven't had that off season to really get a lot of work in. So it's going to be some ups and downs until they really get going. You know, and I think they're going to be trucking along the second part of the season. So I think it'll be a struggle in the beginning, but then they're going to hit all cylinders and roll pretty smoothly around the second half of that season.
All righty. And one more question. I know I said that was the last question, but I had a reader, you know, one of our listeners asked, and you talked about the running game earlier. Do you think they should go after Freeman, or do you have confidence in Ronald Jones?
Well, it doesn't hurt to have you know, more depth, especially somebody with Freeman's experience. So I would go get him, you know, because you know he's a guy that's been a Pro Bowler, a guy that's really led this league in you know, in rushing and you know, pass receiving, and he can pass block as well, you know. So that's a guy that you know, he won't hurt to have on your team.
All right, Ricky, we want to thank you so very, very much for joining us on Frankly Speaking Sports and our Crue Life Hotline tonight. We really enjoyed having you. Hopefully during the season, you know, when they get back to playing, we'd love to have you back on again.
All right, Larry, I really enjoyed it. It's been a blast, and you guys can have me on anytime.
All right, my friend, stay safe, okay?
All right, you too. Thanks a lot.
All righty. That was Ricky Reynolds, former Tampa Bay Buccaneer and New England Patriot. I do want to apologize up front here for some of the Wi-Fi problems we're having. I can't see it on my side. All I have is a strength button saying you're connected and everything's fine. So I do apologize. We will work on getting that corrected for you next week. But I hope you all enjoyed that conversation, what you did make of it with Ricky Reynolds. And we'll go ahead and we'll play this again for you so we can hopefully get through it without any interruptions on the replay. But, Ricky Reynolds, he talked about the running game. He said it'd be a big deal for us to get someone like Freeman who is available. Ronald Jones did a lot last year, had close to 700 yards rushing last year. But, the problem is he's probably not the long-term answer for this team. So if they can get a Freeman, I would definitely go after Freeman. Want to remind you all, if you have any questions you want to ask us, go ahead to the comment section right now. We got about 20 minutes, 19 minutes left in the show. We'd love to go ahead and answer your questions on our, rookie performance here on the Crue Life C4L Productions. Also, we do have a phone line here. If you like to call in, we got one line. So all you have to do is if somebody's on the line, make sure you wait till they hang up and then go ahead and call. The number is showing on your screen, but for those of you that cannot see it for some reason, the number here is 479-553-7008. That's 479-553-7008. Go ahead and give us a call. We'll put you right through. We'll ask you where you're from, and we'll try to answer your questions as best we can. Do want to remind you that we will be on next Wednesday as well, and Wednesdays going forward. Every Wednesday we will be talking about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, news from the Buccaneers, and try to get some interviews with some players, former players, and coaches for you all. One of the things that I think, as we have about 17 minutes left in our show, so please go ahead and leave comments. I'd love to go ahead and answer some questions for you. Let us fix this up. But I want to talk about the kicking game. Matt Gay did not have a very successful year last year. As you all remember, he missed a big field goal in the game against the Giants, which we should have won that game. And then, of course, who can forget the last game of the season that he missed 2 field goals, an extra point, which eventually led up to the the pick 6 for Atlanta, and they ended up winning the game. So, a lot of questions in our kicking game. And I really, really think my honest belief about Matt Gay this year is there's going to be a real short leash. I don't think that Bruce Arians is going to stand for this team losing games because they can't connect on a 34-yard field goal or an extra point. And I will tell you, and some of the fans are for this, some are against it, but if I'm the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, I would at least invite in Stephen Gostkowski to put a little pressure on Matt Gay. Let's look at this for a minute. Gostkowski, the all-time leader for the New England Patriots, he has an 87.4% field goal percentage. He has made 374 field goals in his career out of 428 tries. Been a Pro Bowler like 5-6 times. And then also remember that before he had that rough patch last year, which was he missed 4 extra points last year in 2019 that, eventually led up to his release. Remember, he made 479 consecutive extra points before going in that slump. That is just incredible by a kicker. And I really think that you get somebody like Gostkowski, he's played with Gronk, he's played with Brady, I mean, he's used to those high expectations in New England. I think it would be a terrific battle. May the best man win. So, love to get your opinions on that as well. As I'm starting to read some of these comments. Hopefully we got Brian's question answered about the running game. I agree 100% with Ricky Reynolds that should go ahead and maybe go after Freeman. You know, I would love to see nothing more than Ronald Jones come out this year and rush for 1,000 yards. But you're going to find two things out this year in Tampa Bay that we have not found out previously. Number one, is Ronald Jones a good runner? Because he's going to get a lot more opportunities to run the ball with Tom Brady as the quarterback. Can he be that first 1,000-yard rusher that we've been looking for the last, I don't know how many years? Only time will tell on that. The other thing you're going to find out is how good O.J. Howard is or is not. Tom Brady uses tight ends. You knew about Gronkowski. Before Gronkowski, it was Hernandez. I mean, he is a tight end using machine. He will use his tight ends very, very often. Once again, what we said earlier in the show and what Ricky said is the question's going to come down to that offensive line. How good is that offensive line? But a couple of good things to worry about is, or not to worry about, is Tom Brady gets rid of the ball a lot quicker than Jameis Winston did. He's not going to hold on to the ball as long as Jameis did. Other than that, he's a lot more intelligent. He knows what to do. He knows when to throw the ball away. He knows when he has to run with the ball. A lot of good thing out of Brady there that you're going to definitely see. The only thing with Tom Brady is that worries me is not whether he can throw the deep ball. He proved last year, I think he threw the deep ball about 40% of the times he threw the ball, or he connected 40% of the times he threw a deep ball. So he still has the ability to throw that ball deep. Remember something, he has never had the weapons he has in Tampa Bay. He has not had that in New England. Okay, you got 2,000-yard receivers in Godwin and Evans. Unbelievable that he's going to have weapons he's never had before. The thing about Tom Brady that might worry me a little bit, if I'm a Tampa Bay Buccaneer fan, is he only completes passes 30% of the time when he's pressured. What that means is that offensive line does not do a great job protecting Tom Brady. There could be some trouble there. And, I think the offensive line is going to be better. It may be the same guys we had last year, but except for maybe Tristan Wirfs, of course, who is going to be a beast on the offensive line. But you got to also remember that there's a difference back there with a Tom Brady. Tom Brady's not going to allow himself to get hit. He's not going to allow these guys to screw up. He's going to hold them accountable. And believe me, they're going to hear the crap if he's getting hit. So it's going to be a different mentality altogether back there. And I'm bringing up some points here not to scare people, because I really think, and I'm really hoping, we have a terrific year. I'd love to see us be the first team ever to play at our home stadium in a Super Bowl. It would be just a great thing for the city of Tampa. But we got to identify some of our weaknesses. We'll see how that works out. Why don't we go? We still got about 11 minutes. Why don't we go to the Frankly Speaking Sports Crue Life Hotline and see who we have on the line? Hello, thank you for calling Frankly Speaking Sports. Who do I have the pleasure of speaking to?
This is Brian, Easy B.
Easy B, how are you, buddy?
Good, how are you doing, man?
I'm doing good, man, except I hearing a little Wi-Fi problem on the other side. I'm not sure what's going on there.
Yeah, I'm not sure. It's kind of skipping out here too on your end, but can you hear me all right?
I hear you perfect.
Okay. So I don't know if you saw the stuff about the for the fans in the stands. I see that they're talking about maybe tarping off the lower bowl area of stadiums and stuff. And I just wanted to see what you think about that.
All right. So, Brian, we'll go ahead and answer. I want to thank you so much for calling us. We'll go ahead and get right to that question for you, my friend.
All right.
So Brian wanted to know about the empty in certain areas. Earlier in the broadcast, I had mentioned, and I'll go into this. I know a lot of people have joined us late. It came out earlier today that the NFL, and they're going to make this decision, I think, by tomorrow, that it is not going to be up to the NFL how many fans are allowed to attend games. It's going to be up to the local authorities. That's Ian Rappaport from the NFL, a reporter, one of the insiders, has said that based on what, for example, in Tampa Bay, your governor is Ron DeSantis. He's going to decide whether you can have 25%, 50%, 75%, 100%, or whatever percentage in the stadium. But that doesn't mean if you go to Houston, Texas, or Nashville, Tennessee, that they're going to have the same amount of fans. It's going to be up to the local authorities to discuss who and how many fans are allowed at the stadium. And I think that's a pretty good idea, because if you think about it, right now Florida is just going through an incredible time with, the amount of cases of COVID-19. I hope this means that we're not going to go through a lot of this later on in the summer or the beginning of football season. But if you do, it's going to be up to Ron DeSantis. It's not fair that an area that maybe in California or up in New England, is not having a lot of cases. They might be on a downward swing in those states. Well, then they should be allowed to have more fans as long as the fans, want to go. But to answer Brian's question, the way the NFL is making it sound, based on what they know now, it's going to be up to the local authorities in those states to mandate how many fans can go. Now, also remember this. They can go ahead and say 75% of fans can enter Raymond James Stadium. They can fill it to 75% capacity. There's still going to be those fans that are skeptical about going to the games. I personally wouldn't be. I love football enough to, that's just me. Now, I wouldn't be stupid about it, but at the end of the day, people are going to be very skeptical. And right now, I know in Florida, in Tampa area, you're under a mandate where you have to wear masks, I believe, 100% of the time, at least after 5 o'clock at night. So they have to lift that even before they think about how many fans are in the stands. And let me say this to you, and I don't think people realize this. The fans are a risk to other fans. Let me make sure that's clear. The fans they risk the possibility of spreading the illness to other people. They don't affect the players because the players aren't near them. They're more than 6 feet away. Now, obviously, if they go out and they touch stuff that other people have touched and this and that's a different story. But as far as face-to-face and the social distancing, the fans do not affect the players. Only the other players who are frequently getting tested are the ones that affect the players. The fans are at risk because of the other fans. I just want to make sure that's clear. Hopefully that answered Brian's question. We tried our best to do that for Brian. Do also want to remind you once again, and I did see for the first time there that my Wi-Fi skipped on this end. So it is obviously an issue that we definitely need to get corrected here. All right. Yep, I see it skipping, and we'll get that fixed for next week. So for those of you fans that have been listening to us throughout this show, first of all, thank you for that. We apologize about the internet. I'm not sure why this internet keeps skipping out and going out, but we'll get that fixed for next time. You know, we're all new at this. We're on different platforms, and hopefully we'll get that fixed. Let's go ahead and while we still got about 5 minutes in the show, why don't we go back to the Frankly Speaking Sports Crew Life Hotline, and who do I have the pleasure of speaking to? Hello?
Yes, sir. Can you hear me?
Yes, who's this?
I can just barely hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you fine. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now.
All right, I apologize. I guess we're having a little Wi-Fi problem. Who do I have the pleasure of calling us? Hello?
Who are you? Who do you say you are?
Who's calling?
Yes.
Okay, I'm not sure what's going on that line, so I do apologize. Hopefully they'll call back. Guess we're having some Wi-Fi problem here tonight, so I do apologize about that. Hopefully we can get him back on the line. Let's see, there he goes. Frankly Speaking Sports. All right, I'm not sure what's going on tonight. We got some things to correct by next week, and I promise you we'll go ahead and do that by next week. But we were talking about Matt Gay. We're going to talk about next week. We are going to be back again 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Right here on Frankly Speaking Sports, but we'll go ahead and see if we can find out who's on that line right now. Who do I have the pleasure of speaking to?
It's Cade Craig, sir. Can you hear me?
I definitely can hear you. Where are you calling from, sir?
Oh, since you called me, I was just calling you back.
Who is this?
Cade Craig, sir.
Okay, and what are you calling about, sir?
Well, I don't know. You called me, so I was just calling you back.
Okay, I didn't call, so I do apologize. We're on the air right now. You want to talk any sports with us? All right, I guess that was a fan who didn't know who he was calling there. All right. I think 411, if they still have that, might be the best number for that guy. But I do want to remind you all, we will be back next week, 9 p.m. Eastern Time. I do apologize about all the Wi-Fi interruptions here that we're having. I'm not sure why we were having them, but you have my word. We'll try to get those fixed by next week for you. Right now, we do not have any guests planned yet for you. We wanted to wait. We wanted to lock them in and confirm. So we will announce the guests later on this week, probably by Friday. For those of you folks, and I know Rob doesn't mind me saying this, that are Tampa Bay fans, Frankly Speaking Sports will be on the next 2 nights on our network. Hopefully I get the Wi-Fi fixed for that. And tomorrow night will be USF public address announcer Eric Hanman, the USF Bulls football team and women's basketball team. And then Friday night, welcome back baseball. Tampa Bay Rays pregame and postgame host Rich Hollenberg will be joining us live. So 2 great guests we have for you on our other hotline. For those of you people that are listening from Frankly Speaking Sports right now, make sure you join Crew Life, okay? Also want to remind you, those Buccaneer fans that love to talk Buccaneers, Coach Bell will have his show this Sunday night. What a terrific show Coach Bell does. Make sure to join, I believe it's 7 p.m. This upcoming Sunday, where Coach Bell and Bucks Talk will be on to talk about all different topics regarding the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Want to thank you all so very much for joining us tonight. Once again, we apologize about the Wi-Fi issues, and we'll see you next week with better Wi-Fi on Frankly Speaking Sports right here on Crue Live.